Hi.
Hi. That whole haircut part was in there.
No, it wasn't.
The whole thing about my needing a haircut.
I don't think it
all in
was.
there. It was. Well, if it wasn't, now it is. What are we doing?
Oh, we're going to talk about why we decided to go on pilgrimage, and we haven't talked to you guys since we've been back on our pilgrimage.
Yeah.
So
I was wearing this shirt on the pilgrimage the whole time.
the whole time.
So it's only fitting that I wear the shirt to talk about the pilgrimage. It's my lucky shirt. I have a duplicate one, and you can purchase it for $50. So, I love you. Sorry.
All right.
So, what is a pilgrimage?
What is a pilgrimage?
I guess it just depends on who you ask.
Yeah. A pilgrimage to me is taking a walk with God and, getting closer to Him.
Yeah.
Even if it's a small pilgrimage. It's a pilgrimage when you go to church every Sunday. That's a pilgrimage to your church.
That's true. We read that in our Eucharistic consecration.
Yes, we did.
Pilgrimages can be long or short, or great journeys or not so great journeys.
Yeah.
Pilgrimages take on
Hard.
different forms.
They can be very hard.
Which one did we do?
We did a pretty hard one.
We did a pretty hard one.
We were going to, in New Mexico, it's called Santuario de Chimayo? In Chimayo, New Mexico.
Chimayo.
And we started in Albuquerque.
We started from here, right outside the front door of our home.
Yeah. And it was a 95-mile trek. However, we did about 75 miles of that. A lot of the reasoning we didn't finish completely is because of weather. And
it's that, but I think it took on, just like the word pilgrimage, it takes on different meanings. So it didn't happen exactly according to our plans, which are faulty to begin with, right? Our plans, best laid plans, they never work out the way that you think they're going to work out. Sometimes they work out better, and in our case, I really feel like, even though by some standards it came up short, in other standards it's like
perfect.
We exceeded. It was perfect.
Yeah.
It was just better. And I truly believe that. I believe that God has a plan, and He decides where the walk begins and ends,
and how long we do a day. And basically every single day He brought us to where we needed to be, and and we weathered the storms together and the hills. And we couldn't have done it without God.
And so if your life is like the sum of all these things that happen, and they affect the outcome, then why should a pilgrimage be any different? It's like this microcosm of realities where God shows up in different ways, spiritually and physically, and through other people, through their generosity and kindness, and through their wickedness too, unfortunately, right? And then I think sometimes the devil showed up at one point. I don't want to scare you when I say that, but
several points.
yeah, the devil reared his ugly head in there, and we had to where you whack-a-mole. It's like he kept popping up here, and
with lots of prayer and just talking to God.
There was a lot of times where it was just hard, and we just started praying, and we could tell that was like kind of thrusting us forward. But I could see the devil running off, and just, oh no, why are they praying? I could just envision the devil being sickened by our prayers to God, because at that moment it was just so very beautiful.
Yeah. Why do you think we decided to do a pilgrimage?
Is that a topic for part 2?
No, it could be part 1.
Okay.
Because we talked about what a pilgrimage is, and now we'll tell you why we decided to go on a pilgrimage. I think the biggest reason why was we wanted to see what it was going to be like, because our goal is to do a pilgrimage in Spain
Oh, sure.
and do the Camino. And if you've ever watched the movie or have not watched the movie The Way, beautiful movie. You should definitely watch that.
Yeah.
We've watched it several times.
Oh, we watched it a bunch. And
that
it's very-
one is a 600-mile, correct?
yeah, it's just a heartfelt movie with Martin Sheen and
Yeah.
his son Emilio Estevez. And it's near and dear to our hearts, so we recommend that movie. It's sort of like you know how you have your motivational videos or whatever things that you watch. For us, that was a motivating thing. It caused us to have this ambition to want those things that they had along their journey, accomplishment, becoming closer with God, remembering loved ones, doing all these things that, because it was a process, you know. You know how you can take a little hike in the mountains and have a little, but this was one that just kept on going, you know. We didn't have just a little walk with God. We took a week-long walk with God and went to sleep. You know, we camped out not too far from the side of the road, basically, and in the trees and with all the elements and stuff like that. Coyotes howling in the middle of the night.
And I think every time we started to know that we were going to wind it down for the night, we started praying, you know, Lord, guide us to a really perfect spot so that we can be safe through the night.
Yeah.
And
So we were
he
very
came
safe.
through every single time.
Yeah. Oh,
Every
God took
single
care
time.
of us. He took care of us. I always got this sense that we were guarded, and now he chose the right spots and so on. We did what they call stealth
Stealth camping.
camping, where
I'm going to
nobody.
get a tissue.
They're being very clever. No one knows that they're there.
Sorry.
Yep, you need to take. I'll get it for you.
I got it.
Okay.
I'm going to need a tissue. But another reason, the other reason why we decided to do a pilgrimage is I think we just needed to get away from everything and be with God and
And, you know,
together and individually.
and that's a good thing that we did that, and I think that was probably like up there. It may be my number one reason for just desiring to do that is the first one, of course, is being out there with God, trying to hear His voice and to hear His word and kind of align our walk with Him, our journey with Him, our souls to Him, our attitudes, align our spirits with His, you know, so that we can do His will and stuff. I think that's like the first thing, right? But then the greedy side of me is like, gosh, I just want to get away from this crap. Sometimes of day to day, you know what I mean? The negativity sometimes that's there in our lives and stuff like that. You know, so that was a very close second thing for myself personally, and maybe Stephanie too. You know, it's nice to just like disconnect from Albuquerque and politics and overreaches in our lives. Spiritual overreaches that we've had to experience and persecution that we've had to overcome and stuff like that. It's nice to get away from that. I can't look to, you know, to be honest, where's the next pilgrimage? Because I want to get away again, you know, as strong as I came back and
Definitely came back different.
yeah. But the thing to know about pilgrimages, yeah, you come back different, but the devil's ready to pick up where you left off.
Yeah.
So just be aware of that, and then try to not let him have his way or whatever, the way that sometimes I do. You know, don't pick up, or don't let the devil pick up where you left off for you or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's a dangerous trap. But that being said, we came back like stronger and with a quiet sense and not exactly sure what was happening with this retrospect, retroactive view of what God actually did in our hearts. You know, we could see that our hearts were a little bit, our eyes of our hearts were a little bit more open to.
We're more at peace, and just joy for everybody that we missed while we were gone.
Yeah, the joy was really there.
Just the happiness to see those who embrace us as as one in a
Yeah.
sense, you know.
Yeah, I really love the people that. It must have been visible on us because there's been some people in our parish, because we're Catholics. We're a couple of Catholics. There's some outspoken people in our parish, and only just a few. Generally speaking, there's been outspoken ones that are like really encouraging of us, and there's more of those, and that's so wonderful. But what do they tell you a lot of times, or what do they say is it only takes one bad apple to spoil the soup or whatever, you know. And that's kind of how it's been in my heart. You know, these couple of people who've like said some negative things about Stephanie and I, and our relationship together. Is that okay to say?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it only takes a few bad apples to spoil the bunch or whatever, and it's like poor
It's
poor
not
actors.
even negative comments too. It's just the way they view us.
Their actions are just uncharitable and it's sort of unloving, and then there's been
Judgments. They sit on their judgments chairs.
they sit in the judgment seat that they don't belong in.
That they don't belong in.
Yeah, it's like that. Don't you know that's God's seat? You're sitting in God's chair. You know, some people get too comfortable sitting in God's chair.
And that was one of the main reasons we were just so happy to get away from that and to go on this pilgrimage.
Yeah.
You know, I think it was also a test of our relationship together, plus our relationship with God.
Yeah.
Together and individually.
Yeah.
You know.
And you know, I've always felt like I was very, very rooted in God and everything else, and that my faith was not unshakable, but it was pretty solid. This guy went on.
He went on pilgrimage too.
Yeah, so he's in like half of the videos that we. But he's actually a pretty good little travel companion. He behaved himself.
He says, "Hey, if you're going to do a video about it, I need to be in it." So
Hey,
here he
why?
is.
Yeah, he never.
He's on my lap.
He came with us. We carried him in a pouch, and sometimes he walked. Not very often, but.
He walked for about 5 seconds, 5 steps, then said, "Nope."
Yeah. So, I feel like I don't want the next thing that I say to come across too prideful. When we came back, some of the people who were less charitable seemed a little bit more charitable, ready to listen to what we're saying, like they're ready to accept the position that we come from, wanting to have a relationship with each other. We've listened to God, we've discerned it quite a bit and continue to discern it, and we just know what God says. You know, it's not easy to be on the outside and not hear what God's saying to somebody and just viewing it as a spectator. But then it's important to realize if you're a spectator and seeing something, you can't make judgment calls on people, especially when it comes to things like we endured, the persecutions first. You know, and this is my moment on the soapbox, I guess. So I want to air out a couple of these things. Is that okay? I mean, we've suffered abuse in our situation at the hands of some who are in authority at our parish. We suffered persecution from them, and not necessarily coming from a place of concern. It's veiled as coming,
I think,
from a place of
we
concern.
won't use this video to get into details, but we will have a video on
Yeah.
that because maybe eventually it could help others going through the same type of.
Yeah. So we'll just stop it at that. I think that's a good call, Stephanie. Because we're already 15 minutes into this video. We want to make a series of videos about the pilgrimage and not just focus on that one thing.
Yeah. So we
'cause it's-
talked about what is a pilgrimage, and we talked about why we took it.
Why did we
maybe
take
we
a
should stop
pilgrimage?
here, and then we'll start another one.
We'll start a new video.
Yeah.
But we hope you continue along on this journey. We're going to make a little mini series.
Little mini series on why and what happened on the pilgrimage.
Yeah,
and-
maybe we'll drink some mini sodas.
Okay.
Okay.
This was part 1.
This is part 1. We went on a pilgrimage. We're talking about it. And we're going to keep on talking about it in more videos.
Yes. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Peace.
Don't touch that dial.
No.
I love her.
I love him. We love y'all.